Hello again, second grade. You just learned all of the first 26 phonograms. So we're going to practice writing some nonsense words with those. And tomorrow I'm going to do a little quiz with you one-on-one to see how you're doing, just to see what you might need help with. All right, so to start with, I'm going to give you, before we start our nonsense words, I'm going to give you a phonogram and I want you to write it. And that's just a way for you to check in and see if you have that one memorized or not. All right, the first one I want you to write is k. All right, say it while you write it. All right, class, our phonogram that says k is a tall line letter. So it starts at the top baseline. And then the second part of it starts a clock space away at the dotted line. So this is our k. Remember, if you wrote this, then this says k, s. This one has two sounds. The one that just says k is this one. All right, the next phonogram I want you to write is a, ah. Say it while you write it. Now, if I'm going too fast at any point, remember, just pause me so you can get caught up. Our a is a clock stroke letter. Where does it start? Good. Over a space just below the dotted line. Touch 2 on the clock. A, ah. Hope you were saying it while you were writing it. All right, our next one is s, z. All right, write your s, z, and say it while you write it. All right, your s, z is also a clock stroke letter. It starts over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. All right, if you didn't get any of these right, we would fix them as we're going along. All right, if you did get them right, great job. And now we wrote a nonsense word. Let's read it. Good, so it's k, because remember our vowels usually say their first sound, right? So k, s, right? Because all of our phonograms, they usually say their first sound. So we always try the first sound first. All right, so it's k, s. Let's put it together, cas. All right. Now, we'll leave a clock space because we're going to start writing some nonsense words. The first word I want you to write is bem. What's the word? Good, bem. What sounds are we going to write to spell that? Good, b, e, m. One more time, b, e, m. Write those sounds and say them while you write them. All right, class, what do I need to write to spell bem? Good, b, which remember is a line letter, so I start at the top baseline. Good, and where does my S start? Good, halfway between the dotted line and the baseline. And good, m starts at the dotted line. All right, make sure yours looks like mine. And now let's read the word we just wrote. All right, good. Now I'll do it with you now. B, e, m, bem. All right, good job. The next word is wan. Wan. What sounds do we hear in the word wan? Good, so hopefully you said w, a, n, wan. All right, so write those sounds, w, a, n. Say them while you write them. All right, class, what do I need to write to spell wan? Good, w, that starts at the dotted line because it's a slant stroke letter. What's next? Good, a, where does that start? Good. Over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. And what's next? Good. Right, that starts at the dotted line. All right, let's say the sounds we wrote and put them together. Good, it's w, a, n, when. All right, the next word is rough. These words are so silly, but it's a good skill for us to work on, is spelling these nonsense words. Rough. What sounds do we hear in the word rough? Good. R, ah. One more time, what are you going to write? Good. R, ah. Write those sounds and say them while you write them. Make sure you're leaving clock spaces. All right, class, what do we need to write to spell rough? Good. R is the first sound, and that starts at the dotted line. What's next? Good. Ah. Starts over a space just below the dotted line. Touch 2 on the clock. And what's next? Good. Remember, that one starts over a space just below the top baseline. Touch 2 on the clock. Okay. Let's say our sounds and put them together. Excellent. It's r, ah, rough. All right, let's do one more. So this one, I'll warn you, I'm going to use the 2-letter phonogram that we just learned. So think back to that phonogram. Remember, we need 2 letters to make that sound. The word is quid. What's the word? Good. And what sounds do we hear in the word quid? Good. It's qu, I, d. But for the qu, I put 2 fingers up because remember, we need 2 letters to make that qu sound. So we're going to write the 2 letters that say qu. Then we're going to write an I and then a d. And remember, d is a clock stroke letter, so we've got to start it over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. So one more time, what are we going to write? Good. Qu, I, d. Go ahead and write those sounds. Say them while you write them. All right, class, what do I need to write to spell quid? Good. Qu is my first sound. Remember, I need 2 letters to say that, and I'm going to start over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. This is the first letter of my qu. And the second one. What's next? Good. I. And good. D. And where does D start? Good. Over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. All right, and now I'm going to go back and underline my 2-letter phonogram to show that those 2 letters go together. Remember, I can't say qu with just that letter, with just this first one. It has to have its friend with it. Now let's read our word that we wrote that has a 2-letter phonogram in it. Good, it's qu, I, d, which we would put together to say quid. All right. Excellent job, boys and girls. We'll have one more review of just reminding ourselves of some of the phonograms, practicing writing them, and then writing some more nonsense words.